Peter, this is Mark Harris, and I am ready to give you the critique of your life. Or at least a few notes. Let's take a look, shall we?
It's like going on a date with a chatty Cathy doll. I expect you to have a little string on your chest, you know, that I pull out and have to snap back. Except I wouldn't pull it out and snap it back. You would.
Okay, so there's a devil at a bar, and he's talking about something that I actually don't get right away because there's a lot of visual noise for me to digest before I hear the dialogue. I heard chatty Cathy, so he's talking about somebody talking a lot, and he did do this gesture. Then I see Pinocchio, and I'm like, Pinocchio, doll. And Pinocchio does a thing, and his nose gets big. But he doesn't talk, and maybe he looks a little drunk. That's what I get out of it. It's not quite as clear as it could be. So let's take another look. Let's watch the devil.
It's like going on a date with a chatty Cathy doll.
It's like going on a date with a chatty Cathy
I
doll.
expect you to have a little string on your chest, you know, that I pull out and have to snap back.
So he's referencing a character here and there as he's talking.
Except I wouldn't pull it out and snap it back. You would.
You would. So I'm not sure if he's talking about the character or he's talking to another character about another character. Somehow I feel like we could go more clear in there. If he's talking to the other character, I feel like in the beginning he should more address the character more of the time as he's talking. He glances a few times back and forth. But I think if he is talking to the other character, he should kind of stay with it and then maybe just glance away a few times instead, just to make it clear that he's talking about the other character.
Going on a date with a chatty Cathy doll.
Another thing that you're doing here is you're kind of covering up his face a lot with his hand, which tends to get a little distracting. It's fine here and you reveal his face. It's a nice reveal technique. But his thumb keeps touching his mouth and here's his hand, his face is completely covered up. So you might stage that a little bit by not having the hand go up so far and just still let us see his face.
Back. Except I wouldn't pull it out and snap it back. You would.
Okay, so let's look at Pinocchio.
You would.
Who, me? No. So the audience has an expectation that Pinocchio says a lie and his nose grows. Here, Pinocchio denies something and his nose grows. It's not quite as clear as it could be, given your setup for the most part. Is he lying about the fact that if it was him, he would be talking? I'm not quite sure how to clear that up with what you've got. He would need, the other character would have to say something that was more specific to, don't you think so? Don't you think so, Pinocchio? No, I don't think so. And then his nose grows. Right now we're not getting that from the devil, so it's a little hard to tell here.
Pull out and have to snap back. Except I wouldn't pull it out and snap it back. You would.
And I'll say, when his nose does grow here in the beginning, it's kind of hard to see it, that little thing, because you're doing this movement. You don't see a movement that's about the same size, only in the nose. You don't see that because it's being covered up by the head too much. And then his nose grows from the silhouette, which is good so that we can read it a little bit better. But also in the timing of the way that the nose grows at the end, it's a very slow and even, which feels like it could be a little more interesting. Maybe like a something like that, just to give it texture. Or just have it grow slow and then pop right at the end. There's a few different things you could do with the texture to make that more appealing. You have a lot of brow shapes and eye shapes that slowly move together. If you watch his eyes here and his brows, right there, they go up and they go down like that. So right now you've got something that just goes, and brows are a fast twitch muscle, and they want to hit a shape and then maybe, if anything, just relax into a final pose. So I think overall you could get into those shapes a little faster and with less in-betweens and less even timing. Same with the eyes too. Going back to this guy, you got very even shapes in the brows. You might maybe raise one and close the other. And also, they're both a very even curl. So if you maybe played a little bit less on the inside so that it was less symmetrical, cutting down through the eyebrow, like this maybe. So one's a little further down than the other. Maybe more appealing in that way. I'll say that he is a little stiff here as he's pulling this. Maybe if you could have some reverberation in here, but when I think about that note, I'm also kind of like, he's kind of mimicking like a very stiff puppet, so I feel like I want to let that note be. You've got some softness in some other places. As he is pulling, though, I notice that this hand is moving back and forth within his silhouette, within the arm silhouette right here. And so you don't really read it that much. If you had the elbow down just a little bit, maybe something like this elbow is down like this, just a little bit more. Maybe that's a little too much. Point being, I'm breaking this hand out of the silhouette so that we read it more. And at one point, it might actually, when it comes all the way out, it might feel more like this, like that, so that we're seeing the shape of it even during the move. This is a good acting touch. This is also a good pose. Right here, I like how the fingers are clumped together and only one of them sticks out. That works really well. So overall for you, I think it's just overall clarity in the idea. I think a good note for you would be to think of the audience's expectation as you're creating your set so that you know what you're playing against when the audience is looking at your shot. When they see a devil, they're going to expect the devil to act in a way that they've seen before. And if you jump too far outside of that, it's going to cause more questions for them.
String on your chest, that I pull out and have to snap back. Except I wouldn't pull it out and snap it back. You would.
In the same way with the audience expectation of Pinocchio, it's got to be really clear that he's lying about something. And it's not quite clear what he's being accused of. So if you can do something to make that clear, I think you'd be in a better spot. That's what I've got. Good luck to you, sir.